welcome back to the channel. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Hopefully being able to see Black Adam. If not, just a spoiler alert for this video. The article I'm going to be discussing talks about some spoilers for the movie, which, like I said in my review, not so sure if it's really a spoiler anymore, but just putting that out there. This article, The Hollywood Reporter, put out today is kind of talking about giving us some more details about how Black Adam filmed that cameo in secret. There were rumors coming out before the movie was released, but this article gives us a little bit more insight into how they actually filmed it with Henry Cavill. So let's go ahead and cover some of the highlights of the article. Black Adam received a last-minute jolt thanks to a post-credit scene restoring Henry Cavill to the role of Superman. Negotiating Cavill's return for the first time since 2017's Justice League was hard-fought and came down to the wire, with the Black Adam team filming Dwayne Johnson's half of the scene, not knowing if the stars would even align for Cavill's return. So they didn't even know if Henry was actually going to be able to come back and do the scene or not, but they still filmed Dwayne Johnson's part of the scene anyway. So it says, if we can get Henry to be in it, then we'll figure that out on a future date. Cinematographer Lawrence Sher, not sure how to say that, Sher, recalls in the last episode of the Hollywood Reporter's Behind the Screen podcast. So the cinematographer was like, if we get to do it with Henry, we'll figure it out when the time comes. The DP was informed of the Superman idea very late in the game. He recalls Black Adam director Jean Collet-Serra describing it this way. Let's just quickly take this throne room set that we were working in. We're going to create something for Dwayne to walk into, and we're going to shoot it in like 10 minutes. So it wasn't a whole lot of time that went into it. Johnson's half of the scene was filmed as the final shot on the final day of additional photography. After filming Johnson's half, the team put together the second half of the scene with a body double and a version of John Williams' 1978 Superman theme they found on Google. In this version of the scene, they never showed the actor's face, only the Superman emblem on his chest, but it was clear the idea was solid. So it's obvious that this was what obviously this is what people saw in the test screenings a few months ago when the rumor was really started to come out. We all heard about this, right? There's a cameo at the end. There's a credit scene, and it has Amanda Waller, Superman, but you don't see his face. You just kind of see it in the shadows, but you see his suit and you know it's him. And then they have the John Williams score playing. This is where that came from, right? And all of us were like, please, no, not another faceless Superman cameo. So the cinematographer goes on to say, watching an actor come out of full silhouette into that was actually goosebumps. Totally can understand that. Wow, this is 100% going to work. Now they need to figure out if they can get the guy with the head to be there, Cher recalls. So they're probably like, this has to happen, right? Black Adam began testing the movie with that scene thrown in, and the reaction renewed the urgency to secure Cavill. So again, this is where that rumor was coming from. Not necessarily a rumor. Well, it was kind of a rumor because we hear a lot of things about test screenings, but this is what people were talking about when they saw that test screening. And, they were able to obviously show the studio hey, this is how people are reacting to seeing a faceless Superman cameo at the end of Black Adam. We were just please, 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 please. I talked about it lots on the channel. I was like, if it's not Henry Cavill, don't put him at all. Don't have a credit scene like that if it's not Henry, because we all know that we've all been through this for too long and we want him back. So there's a quote here from the director, from the cinematographer, and he says, I went to a test screening in which they did the version without his head, and it played gangbusters. Then it was now we got to get Henry. So yeah, for sure. We all saw as fans that people were just crying out for Henry after we heard about this test screening with a faceless Superman cameo. As the Hollywood Reporter detailed in a piece published Monday, probably the one about talking about how Dwayne Johnson went above Walter Hamada to get the okay to use Henry Cavill. It says Johnson lobbied hard for Cavill's return. They share a manager. Danny Garcia. Then DC Films boss Walter Hamada rejected the idea as he had his own plans for Superman. Johnson went around Hamada's back to new Warner Brothers film bosses Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi, who approved the idea. And I spoke earlier on that on the channel as well. Once the deal was done, Cavill's half of the scene was filmed last month in London, where the actor was located at the time. Cher did his work remotely as he was not able to travel to the UK, but even being on the other side of the world, Cher felt Cavill's gravitas. So, in that article from earlier in the week from the Hollywood Reporter, they said that Henry Cavill, or that he filmed this in September because once Pamela Abdi and Michael DeLuca gave the okay for them to bring back Henry Cavill, they put a deadline of Labor Day for them to get this done. And so they didn't have hardly any time to do this before the movie was going to come out. But I didn't know until now that Henry Cavill actually filmed it in London. So that's interesting. I thought that people had been seeing him in LA recently, so I thought maybe that's what he was doing. Especially because people were like, oh, he has the Superman hairdo and all of that. So maybe he was doing something else in LA. I mean, there's been rumors that he's going to end up in The Flash. So maybe he was working on something else for DC when he was in LA. They could potentially add him to some kind of credit scene in Shazam too. So maybe he was still filming something else while he was in LA recently. Also, which I am super cannot wait for, Henry Cavill will be on the Happy Sad podcast with Joshua Horowitz. The last time I believe he was on this podcast was when the Snyder Cut was coming out, and Henry was really expressing a lot of support and excitement for it. So he will be on there again October 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And Joshua Horowitz said, "Trust me when I say this will be a night to remember. Henry Cavill's first in-depth chat since..." And there aren't many in-person tickets left. I wish I lived in New York so I could go see this in person. That'd be freaking awesome. But you can still listen to the podcast. And I'm just really excited and looking forward to hearing Henry Cavill being able to finally talk about this. All he's been able to say over the past several years is that the cape is still in the closet. He's waiting on the call. He wants to play Superman again. And now finally he gets to talk about how surreal and how it must feel for him to finally be back. And, if he's back, I'm not going to stop saying this. I keep saying it probably every video the past couple of weeks, is that if he's back, it means he gets to do what he wants with Superman. Otherwise, he's not going to come back at all. And I just hope they have, an awesome future planned for him as Superman in the DCEU, because he deserves it. The fans deserve it. And as Dwayne Johnson has been saying over the past couple of weeks, listen to the fans, and that's what is most important. That's what matters to them and his production company, $7. And he continues to repeat that. This phenomenal 90% audience score for Black Adam is so gratifying for so many reasons. 15 years. Thank you all so much for the love and support. In the end, the only thing that matters to me is sending the people home happy, and that's what I'll always fight for. So I'm really happy that, this movie is being led by people that, now with the old regime gone, it was, filmed and produced and everything under the old regime. But I'm happy that Dwayne Johnson and $7 production and hopefully the new regime are, focused on what the fans want, what the audience wants. And the fact that the new co-chairs for DC are the ones who approved Henry Cavill's return, that's a really good sign that, they are focused on the audience and what the fans want. Not to say they don't want to make money, but clearly it's the fans who are going to dictate that and not the critics. Speaking of that, there's some numbers that have been coming out over the weekend, opening weekend for Black Adam. It has grossed $73 million overseas with 76 markets, with an estimated $67 million domestic combined. The film opens with $140 million worldwide, which I believe is above what they kind of had predicted for the movie. So that's great news as well. I've already seen it twice. I think it's a movie that a lot of people are willing to support, whether they are, huge fans of Dwayne Johnson or not, because I have seen a lot of people reacting because of him being able to bring Henry Cavill back and not giving up on that, even down to like I said, literally down to the wire. This was just completed with Henry Cavill a few weeks ago, a month ago. Him not giving up on that, I think, has earned a lot of people's respect and admiration, even if they're not huge fans of him in the role, and I think that that is pretty cool. And I think he really appreciates it, and he shows his appreciation for the fans. And I, for one, I mean, I'm a fan of The Rock for sure. I think he's a likable person. He has a huge fan base. Yes, he plays like the same character a lot in other movies, and I was a little concerned about, is he going to be able to really go there in this movie? I think he did fine for the most part. I think, regardless of how people felt about Dwayne Johnson playing Black Adam, a lot of people just really respect the fact that he did not give up on bringing Henry Cavill back, and how much, like, he loves him as Superman as much as the fans do. And the fact that he has been talking so much about listening to the fans and letting them guide where you take things in the DCEU, I think that's a huge thing for all of us, because we have not ever heard that these past, forever since Man of Steel came out. We've never heard anything like that from the studio, from the old heads of the studio. So hopefully now this is, getting on track to kind of let DC be its own thing, and let the fans guide you where you should go with the universe and the characters. So I'm super happy about this. Like, it's just, like I've said before, it's awesome to be talking about Superman again, and not wondering, is he coming back? Is it going to be for real? Are we really going to see him? Like, it's just so awesome. And I cannot wait to listen to that podcast in a few days and listen to him talk about this, because it's been such a long journey. And I'm just super excited about where it's going. So thank you guys for watching. Check out the links in the description, any videos you might have missed recently. My review for Black Adam, anything from the recent weeks or so. But thank you guys for all the support. Shout out to any new subscribers, and we'll see you next time.